if you enjoy watching these videos, consider liking and subscribing, as it's greatly appreciated. Gypsy Rose was born in 1991 to her mother Dee Dee Blanchard. As a baby, Dee Dee claimed her daughter had sleep apnea. When Gypsy was 8 years old, Dee Dee described her as suffering from leukemia and muscular dystrophy, and said she required a wheelchair and a feeding tube. The list of medical problems that Dee Dee related about her daughter would go on to include seizures, asthma, hearing and visual impairments. Due to Dee Dee's actions, Gypsy was prescribed a litany of medications and had to sleep using a breathing machine. She also went through multiple surgeries, including procedures on her eyes and removal of her salivary glands. When Gypsy's teeth rotted, perhaps due to her medications, missing salivary glands, or neglect, they were pulled out. Yet the truth was that Gypsy could walk, didn't need a feeding tube, and did not have cancer. Her head was bald only because her mother shaved off her hair. Experts believed Dee Dee had a mental illness known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy, also called factitious disorder imposed on another, which just means it's a fabricated illness that she may or may not have imposed on her child. Medical tests often showed inconclusive or contradictory results regarding Gypsy's diagnoses, but Dee Dee would stop seeing any doctors who questioned her daughter's ailments, and many caregivers went along with what Dee Dee wanted. She'd had some nurses training so she could accurately describe symptoms, and she sometimes gave Gypsy medication to mimic certain conditions. Dee Dee was also charming and seemed devoted to her daughter. When Gypsy was old enough to talk, Dee Dee instructed her not to volunteer information during their appointments. She was always the one relating Gypsy's fake medical history. Dee Dee told Gypsy's father, Rod Blanchard, that their daughter had a chromosomal disorder that had led to many of her health issues. He complimented Dee Dee for her devoted care. When some of Dee Dee's family noticed that Gypsy didn't seem to need a wheelchair and asked questions, Dee Dee and Gypsy moved away. Dee Dee claimed to be a victim of Hurricane Katrina, so she and Gypsy received assistance to relocate from Louisiana to Missouri in 2005. There, Dee Dee continued to bring Gypsy to doctor's appointments. Hurricane Katrina also provided an excuse for missing medical files. In 2008, Gypsy and Dee Dee moved into a new home in Springfield, Missouri, built by Habitat for Humanity. It was painted pink and had a wheelchair ramp. Gypsy and Dee Dee also received benefits that included charity-sponsored visits to concerts and Disney World. All along, Dee Dee continued to bask in the attention she received for being devoted caretaker. When Gypsy was 14, she saw a neurologist in Missouri who came to believe she was a victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. However, this doctor never reported her case to authorities. In later interviews, he stated his belief that there wasn't enough evidence to act. In 2009, an anonymous report was made to authorities stating that Dee Dee's accounts of Gypsy's ailments had no medical basis. This resulted in 2 caseworkers visiting their home, but Dee Dee convinced them there was nothing wrong. As Gypsy grew older, Dee Dee began to lie about her age, going so far as to alter the dates on Gypsy's birth certificate to make her daughter seem younger, but Gypsy was still becoming harder for Dee Dee to control. In 2011, Gypsy tried to get away from her mother by running away with a man she'd met at a science fiction convention, but Dee Dee soon tracked him down via mutual friends. She convinced the man that Gypsy was a minor, though she was actually 19 at the time. According to Gypsy, Dee Dee smashed her computer and physically restrained her to her bed. After they returned home, Gypsy had also stated her mother would sometimes hit her and deny her food. Gypsy eventually managed to get back online. She joined a Christian dating site where she met Nicholas Gojon. She told him the truth about her mother's actions and ended up asking him to kill Dee Dee so they could be together. In June 2015, he came to her house and stabbed Dee Dee while Gypsy waited, ears covered, in the bathroom. Gypsy and Gojon returned to his home in Wisconsin, where they were found by police. Gypsy had twice posted to the Facebook account she shared with her mother, once writing, "That bitch is dead." She later explained she made the post because she wanted her mother's body to be discovered. After DeeDee's murder, many people who'd known Gypsy wondered why she had gone so far as to kill her. Since she could walk, she simply could have exposed DeeDee's lies by standing up in public. Yet Gypsy had been conditioned to think no one would believe her. She explained, "I couldn't just jump out of the wheelchair because I was afraid and I didn't know what my mother would do. I didn't have anyone to trust." The fact was that Gypsy had spent her entire life being controlled and monitored by her mother. She wasn't allowed to go to school, though Gypsy was of normal intelligence. DeeDee told everyone her daughter had a mental age of 7. When they were out in public, DeeDee constantly held Gypsy's hand, squeezing it when she wanted her daughter to be quiet. As Gypsy's medical records documented the abuse she'd been subjected to, her lawyers was able to arrange a plea deal for the charges she faced in DeeDee's death in 2016. Gypsy pled to second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison, though she'll be eligible for parole beginning in 2024. Goodjohn was found guilty of first-degree murder in 2018 and was sentenced to life in prison. Gypsy had stated it was only after DeeDee's death that she realised the extent of her mother's deception. While Gypsy had known she could walk and eat regular food, she had believed she had leukemia. Gypsy quoted, "I feel like I'm more free in prison than living with my own mum, because now I'm allowed to feel like a normal woman." Gypsy, now serving her sentence in Missouri's correctional centre, did not talk to the media until after she had made her plea. When she did, she told BuzzFeed reporter Michelle Dean that she had been able to research Munchausen syndrome by proxy on prison computers, and her mother had every symptom. "I think she would have been the perfect mum for someone who was actually sick," she said. She believed DeeDee's claim that she had cancer, even though she knew she could walk and eat solid food, leading her to assent to the regular head shavings. However, she always hoped that doctors would see through the ruse, and she was frustrated that none did besides Flasterstein. When Dean asked her what made her want to escape the situation, Gypsy recalled the 2011 incident at the science fiction convention, which made her wonder why she was not allowed to have friends like others of her age. While she said that Goldjohn took their idle discussions of murder into reality, she accepts that she committed a crime and has to live with the consequences. Nonetheless, she has said that she hopes to help other abuse victims. Victims of Munchausen by proxy abuse often avoid doctors and hospitals in their later lives because of lingering trust issues. According to her family, Dean and Carr, Gypsy also exhibits at times the same sociopathic, manipulative behaviours as her mother, who is for much of her life her only role model. She's already psychologically really compromised, and she's going to need as much family underpinning and support as she can get. Gypsy is also likely going to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, which will be an issue in her continuing development. I hope they find someone, wherever she chooses to settle, who is willing to provide supportive psychotherapy. Gypsy has since been on many shows and interviews discussing what she went through. One of the most common ones was Dr. Phil, where she talks about how sometimes she stood up forgetting that she shouldn't, or rather wasn't allowed to. Since then, there have been many film adaptations of Gypsy's experience, like the Netflix movie Run. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking, subscribing, and commenting any person to do next. Thank you.